The former U.S. ambassador to the United Nations and the former governor of South Carolina, Nikki Haley, is the first Republican to jump in the field to challenge former President Donald Trump for the Republican nomination in 2024 to ultimately go against incumbent President Joe Biden. Joining me now to discuss what to make of Haley's announcement is Gavin Smith. He's a former senior staffer to Haley and a former official in the Trump administration, and Joe Walsh, a former candidate himself for president and also a former Republican congressman. Hello to the both of you. Thanks for joining me.
Good to be with you, Wyatt.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Wyatt.
Joe, let me start with you. Obviously, you've been a vocal critic of President Trump. Do you think Nikki Haley is enough to satisfy not only someone like yourself, but also, the Adam Kinzingers, Liz Cheneys of the Republican field as a Republican candidate for president?
I don't know. I don't know if, the world of conservatives and never Trumpers who don't like Trump, I don't know where they'll come down on this question of, if not Trump, who. I don't know how Nikki Haley has a shot in this Republican Party. This is a Trumpy party. And if the nominee's not going to be Trump, it's going to be the Trumpiest candidate, which is why DeSantis's numbers are so great right now. I just don't see a lane for anybody else.
And Gavin, touching on the last point that Joe mentioned, one of the senators from South Carolina, Tim Scott, said recently that there's, quote, room for two in the 2024 field, talking about the number of candidates from South Carolina. I know you were in Charleston at Nikki Haley's event. Why do you think someone like Nikki Haley is more qualified, is better than someone's of, say, Tim Scott or even someone of like Ron DeSantis, for example, who we hear is potentially considering a bid?
Yeah, well, I think there's a lot to unpack there, but I'm one of the few people that's had the opportunity to work for Donald Trump and for Nikki Haley. And what I can tell you is every time that Nikki Haley's gotten into a race, and it starts with her race for the House of Representatives, South Carolina House of Representatives, Nikki was underestimated. When she ran for the House of Representatives, she ran against the longest serving incumbent in state history. She beat him. In 2010, when she ran for governor, everyone said, Nikki who? And Nikki ended up becoming the governor. In 2014, they thought her re-election odds were slim, and she won in a landslide election. So I think you're going to see the same thing here. Nikki Haley isn't fazed by that, Wyatt. I think that Nikki Haley is going to dig her feet in. She's not going to be afraid to take on Donald Trump. While she may have, maybe not mentioned him yesterday in her announcement directly, I don't think it'll be long before the gloves come off. And I think that you'll see a Nikki Haley that many Republicans can relate to. And I think that I think that she's a candidate that many Republicans will like as well.
And Joe, do you think there are, to what extent are there Republicans who are, considering a bid, but now, you see these two high name recognition Republicans like Nikki Haley and former President Trump in the race? Do you think that's potentially holding anybody back? And if so, who do you think we could potentially expect to see in the coming weeks?
No, I think others will get in. I think Pompeo will get in. I think Pence will get in. I think Tim Scott will get in. I think DeSantis will get in. I think there'll be two or three others. But look, here's the problem they all have. They all, including Nikki Haley, they created the monster that is Donald Trump. And respectfully, I don't think the gloves are going to come off. Nikki Haley's not going to attack Trump. Pompeo's not going to attack Trump. None of them will. They can't, because they desperately need his voters. That's the problem that Nikki and all the rest of them have. It's really difficult to run against the person that you sold your soul to. And again, the party wants, Gavin may think differently, and I respect that, but the base of the party wants a son of a bitch. They want Trump or somebody like Trump. That's not Nikki.
Yeah, Gavin, what do you make of, I guess, what Joe is mentioning and of that potential field of, a large number of high name recognition Republicans who could potentially end up getting in the race?
Well, when I worked for Donald Trump in 2016, I was a field director And that entailed talking to all the grassroots people. South Carolina is very much a grassroots state. That's how you win South Carolina, along with many other states. But particularly in South Carolina, it was really interesting to me yesterday to see many of those people that just fearlessly supported Donald Trump in 2016 and even in 2020. Where were they yesterday? They were at Nikki Haley's event. And I don't buy into the theory that, oh, it's because she's from South Carolina. No, these people fearlessly supported Donald Trump. I just tend to believe that there's a lot of wondering eyes in the Republican Party. There's a new poll that came out yesterday from the Associated Press that shows that I believe it's 6 out of 10 Republicans say that if Donald Trump was at the top of the ticket, that's a bad thing. That's 60% of the Republican Party that Nikki Haley can play to. So, I do think that, yes, you might alienate some voters in the base if you come out and the gloves come off against Donald Trump. But the Nikki Haley I know, I don't think that she's going to be afraid to do that.
And Joe, do you think at this point, 2024 is an election where we should, and the Republicans should potentially be looking at nominating someone who could attract Democrats into the party? Do you think that's, feasibly possible for them at this point?
Look, I think to talk about this race, like we're talking about 2008 and 2012 and maybe even 2016, just is antiquated. This is a different Republican Party. Most Republican voters do not believe Joe Biden is the legitimate president. Most Republican voters have no problem with what happened on January 6th. This is not your daddy's Republican Party, and it's not your granddaddy's Republican Party. It's not Mitt Romney's Republican Party. It's not Nikki Haley's Republican Party. There's a reason why in virtually every poll right now of Republicans, the only 2 candidates who are registering in the polls at all are Trump and DeSantis. And really, everybody supporting DeSantis is a Trump supporter. They just think DeSantis can win. Nobody else is measuring in the polls. That may change, but I doubt it.
And Gavin, just lastly, before we conclude, I mean, when you look at the current Republican field and at the current Democratic field, obviously just Joe Biden at this point in time, do you think someone like a Nikki Haley could potentially, bring types of people to the party that Donald Trump isn't able to do so, and to what extent?
Yeah, I think Nikki Haley stands in stark contrast to Donald Trump. Donald Trump is very much the divider in chief. I think Joe and I can agree on that. Nikki Haley, she has a reputation for bringing people together. You can look at her history as governor. We don't have to go through the events because many people know her as a governor that has the ability to bring a state together. And I think that she has the ability to bring the nation together. That's a key factor when we're looking at the 2024 election. I think we're spending so much time here talking about, can Donald Trump win in 2024? And the answer is absolutely not. Donald Trump will not win a general election. But what we need to be spending more time as a party talking about not only is who we are as a party, but if Donald Trump's at the top of the 2024 ticket, we need to be talking about all the down ballot races that he's going to cost us to lose. We're going to lose control of the House of Representatives, unquestionably, because Donald Trump's at the top of the ticket. So we need to look at someone like Nikki Haley who can bring people into the party rather than alienate more people from the party.
And by the way, Wyatt, Gavin, I'm glad you said that. That's a perfect place to end on some common ground. I agree with that. Nikki Haley would be a stronger general election candidate. Damn, everybody would be more than Donald Trump. But the problem is winning that Republican primary. And I'll tell you, the Republican base right now, sadly, is more Marjorie Taylor Greene than Nikki Haley. That's too bad.
Okay, we'll leave it there. And I'm sure lots of conversations will be had in the coming months as 2024 approaches. Former Nikki Haley senior staffer Gavin Smith and former Republican Congressman Joe Walsh. Thanks to the both of you. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for having me.